Distinguished Merit Award.
On June 4, 2019, BCSO Deputy Paul Phillips responded to a disturbance call in unincorporated Indian Atlantic, and as he approached the residence, was ambushed by an armed suspect. Although Deputy Phillips was struck multiple times, he was able to return fire and neutralize the threat. As deputies reached his location, they began to provide emergency medical attention. Members of Brevard Fire Rescue Engine 63, Rescue 63, and D60 had also been dispatched to the incident. Upon the arrival of the BCFR team, they provided emergency treatment to Deputy Phillips to stabilize his multiple wounds and began transport to the hospital. It should be noted that this team of professionals not only tended to the critical wounds of the deputy, but provided life-saving efforts to the mortal wounds of the assailant. The swift emergency medical attention they provided was paramount in enabling Deputy Phillips the chance to not only survive, but recover from his injuries. As a community healthcare system, Health First is dedicated to taking care of Brevard's communities, and that was exactly the situation the emergency department and trauma teams at Holmes Regional Medical Center found themselves in on June 4, 2019, when they were alerted that a multiple gunshot victim was headed their way. When they learned it was a sheriff's deputy who had been shot in the line of duty, it stirred the emotions of the care teams. They are there to provide emergency, high-quality, and compassionate care, and they were determined that this deputy's story would not be a tragic one. Registered nurse Dimi Sipachu said the trauma team was awaiting his arrival with a trauma surgeon, ED physician, respiratory care nurses, and ultrasound, all set at the bedside and ready to immediately jump into action. With the team assembled and the facility prepped with the capability to care for a gunshot victim, the goal was to transport him into surgery as quickly as possible. Once there, the team scrambled to stabilize the deputy, hooking him up to IVs and distributing medication to ease his pain before chest x-rays, a CAT scan, and surgery were performed, ensuring his full recovery. On June 15, 2019, an off-duty deputy sheriff was enjoying the day with family and friends on the waters of the Indian River. As the boat approached the shore, the deputy dove into the water, not realizing it was very shallow. The deputy did not immediately surface and was discovered unconscious and underwater by other members of the group. A distress call was made and the critically injured deputy was taken by boat to the nearest landing. Members from Brevard Fire Rescue Engines 86, 87, and Rescue 86 arrived on the scene as the boat was arriving at the landing. Determining that he had suffered a serious spinal cord trauma, emergency personnel worked diligently to secure an airway and stabilize the injury to avoid causing any further damage. The deputy was immediately transported by BCFR to the hospital for advanced care. These emergency responders demonstrated exceptional skill in providing immediate triage during the transport to the trauma center. This call was especially taxing for the crew members, as the patient was a known local law enforcement officer which some knew personally. Without their expertise, the deputy may not have survived his injuries. In June 2019, the staff at the Emergency Department at Health First Holmes Regional Medical Center was alerted that an off-duty sheriff's deputy had been severely injured in an accident while boating and had nearly drowned. The staff quickly prepared to receive him, tending to his life-threatening injuries and providing emergency surgery. This team not only delivered the critical care he needed, but did so with compassionate hearts. Nurses were in frequent contact with his wife, who had been traveling out of state, providing her constant updates regarding her husband's injuries and care. The medical team were constantly reassuring the deputy they were doing all they could do to put him at ease. Being that he was so cold from being brought in from the water, nurses utilized warming blankets to reduce his discomfort until he was taken into emergency surgery performed by neurosurgeon Dr. Basil Theototo. The deputy was transferred to the surgical intensive care unit and after weeks of care at Holmes, was transferred to a rehabilitation facility where he continues to courageously fight the recovery battle. In July 2019, Cocoa Police Corporal Kenneth Bracken had just returned home from work when he heard a loud crash and discovered that a car had flipped over and crashed into a roadside ditch filled with water. Corporal Bracken quickly entered the submerged vehicle and pulled 2 occupants to safety. Without his quick thinking, the outcome for these 2 young men would have likely been much worse. In July 2019, Cocoa Police Officer Brian De Los Santos and his canine partner Kira successfully tracked and located a suicidal subject who had reportedly ingested a bottle of prescription pills. A few months earlier, the team assisted medical personnel in the proper diagnosis of a driver who was suffering from a medical episode. The citizens of Coco and Brevard County are fortunate to have the skill and expertise of Officer De Los Santos and his canine partner available at a moment's notice. Ray De Moraes is the communications manager for the Melbourne Police Department, which includes all the communications for the Melbourne Fire Departments. Under his leadership, the team handled more than 250,000 calls, of which more than 58,000 were emergency 911 calls. MPD maintains a 98% efficiency of answering all calls within 3 seconds, and this success is attributed to De Moraes' leadership. He is also the lead on the incident dispatch team, and with every task Ray takes on, it is always mission accomplished. Cocoa Beach Police Corporal Jackie George is a 15-year law enforcement veteran who exemplifies dedication to the profession, the department, and the community she serves. Her primary responsibility is line-level patrol supervision, but she is charged with many other ancillary duties, including traffic homicide investigations, field training, instructing personnel, crime prevention, and community relations. Corporal George's ability to independently handle these duties with efficiency led to her recent selection as the Cocoa Beach Police Department's Officer of the Year. Laurie Hamilton is the program supervisor of Volunteers in Motion. In December 2018, when Laurie received a report that her client did not answer the door or telephone that day, she knew there was a serious issue and immediately responded to the residents. Laurie then found the client lying face down on the floor, and it was determined the client had been on the floor for several days. Laurie's understanding of her clients and their routines, along with her quick actions, undoubtedly prevented a tragedy. In March 2018, while conducting a security check at the Brevard County Jail Complex, Corporal Hutchinson saw an inmate exit his cell on the upper tier of the catwalk with a sheet tied around his neck. The inmate rushed to the metal railing and secured the other end of the sheet to the railing before climbing over and standing on the ledge. Corporal Hutchinson immediately rushed to the inmate while engaging him in conversation. The inmate, intent on taking his own life, suddenly released his grip on the railing and leaned backwards, which would have assuredly resulted in his death. Corporal Hutchinson leaped forward and grabbed the inmate's arm and clung to the inmate with one hand while hanging onto the railing with his other arm in an effort to prevent them both from plummeting off the top tier. Corrections Deputy Stewart assisted in pulling both Corporal Hutchinson and the inmate back over the railing to safety. Due to Corporal Hutchinson's quick actions, the inmate sustained no injuries and his life was saved. School Resource Officer Lehman Jackson has served at Jackson Middle School since 2006 and is known for going above and beyond, acting as an officer, teacher, tutor, and mentor for his students and their families. He coordinates annual fundraisers which build relationships, as well as help sponsor those students who may not otherwise be able to attend the 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C. He is also instrumental in assisting with the delivery of Christmas gifts and holiday meals to ensure each family has received gifts and a holiday meal to enjoy. Detective Mark Genuine is a 22-year veteran with the Melbourne Police Department, and as a general crimes detective, his dedication and tenacity have not only cleared cases within his jurisdiction, but he also greatly assisted other agencies as well. His recent investigations have led to multiple arrests in an organized statewide auto theft ring, a boat motor burglary theft ring operating from Miami to Brevard, and an organized retail theft porn ring, where it was estimated the group stole at least $80,000 from stores. FDLE Special Agent Brad Lewis is a seasoned investigator with over 25 years of public service. He was the lead case agent on a lengthy public integrity investigation that culminated with the arrest of the former deputy city manager and a citizen who allegedly attempted to extort and control the city council. Lewis is also a task force agent with the FBI Safe Streets initiative and works hard every day fighting the heroin epidemic. Over the past year, he has made numerous narcotic-related arrests and seized large amounts of heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, and firearms from violent felons. Agent Sean Pindar has been a member of the Palm Bay Police Department for over 16 years and is passionate about investigating violent and narcotics-related offenses and continues to make a positive impact on the opioid epidemic. His efforts and leadership has led to the seizure of significant amounts of heroin and other dangerous drugs. He has been recognized with over 30 different awards for his outstanding performance, including 2 from the DEA, and was recently recognized as Palm Bay's Officer of the Year. In June, Cocoa Beach Fire Department Lieutenant Schindler and his crew responded to a report of a victim not breathing and without a pulse. While attempting to ventilate the subject, they found a foreign object in the airway, which they attempted to remove without success. An emergency incision into the larynx to open the airway was performed by Lieutenant Schindler. CPR was continued, and the patient was transferred to the hospital with blood pressure and a pulse. This will now be the third time in Lieutenant Schindler's career he has had to perform such a procedure. His ability to perform a complex medical procedure such as this demonstrates his dedication, confidence, and ability. Agent Michael Spadafora has been a member of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office since 1998 and has been an active member of the Brevard Child Exploitation Task Force sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security since 2007. He is certified as a federal task force agent with DHS ICE, where his cases are presented in both federal and state court. Agent Spadafora has been recognized on numerous occasions for his work in child exploitation cases involving the internet. He has a very unique skill set. He hunts those that prey on our children and lures those who rely on the anonymity of the internet to seduce and victimize children by bringing them from the shadows to face justice. Most of the time, the cases Mike works stay out of the public eye, but in this instance, the news went nationwide. In October 2018, he observed an online advertisement in which a subject was inquiring about necrophilia and cannibalism. He opened an investigation and began conversing online. Over the following days, the suspect described in great detail his desire to murder and decapitate a child and then have sex with the dead body. The suspect also described how he wanted to cannibalize her remains. The subject requested Spadafora and the child travel to Texas, where he could commit these horrific acts. When the subject arrived, he was taken into custody. He had a knife and garbage bags, just as he had described, using to transport his desired portions of the child's remains. He provided a full confession, completing his statement by thanking the agent for stopping him, as he was unable to control his desire to harm a child. We may never know how many children were saved from this one case alone. Crime analyst Dawn Strickland has demonstrated her ability to be a significant asset to the Palm Bay Police Department and was recognized as the department's Civilian of the Year. While working on a long-term heroin trafficking investigation, Dawn was able to locate where the drug trafficker was operating. She was also instrumental in a methamphetamine distribution case that involved multiple suspects, where she was able to identify and distribute pertinent information. Dawn is a vital component to the investigative team and is considered invaluable to the success of the department's mission. In September, 911 public safety telecommunicator Deborah Staton received a call from a female advising that she wanted to harm herself. The communication with the caller rapidly deteriorated to only inaudible mumbling, and Officer Emilio Rosa, Officer Daniel Givens, and Sergeant Troy Barber were on scene within minutes after they were dispatched. The caller was found unresponsive and had very shallow breathing. They worked swiftly to render aid, and as a result of their life-saving efforts, the caller made a full recovery. Had it not been for the quick response of this team, the outcome might not have been the same. Since November 2017, United States Secret Service's Central Florida Electronics Crimes and Financial Crimes Task Force have teamed up to identify a criminal organization in the Central Florida area committing credit card fraud through fraudulently purchasing fuel. The investigation identified over 150 Cuban national suspects operating throughout the Central Florida area. Conservative estimates indicate this organization has victimized Central Florida residents for over $5 million. As a direct result of their hard work, 64 state arrests, 10 federal arrests, and 3 search warrants have been executed. The investigation has recovered over 11,000 stolen credit card numbers, gas pump skimmers, cellular telephones, thumb drives, laptop computers, and more than 36 vehicles have been seized. Due to their proactive efforts, persistence, and dedication, thousands of citizens have been saved from becoming victims of identity theft.